Oh, God will make a
This call is now being recorded.
where there seems to be no ways. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way.
Was it in Sanskrit?
It was in English, sir. It was in English.
It was in English?
Yes.
Oh, no wonder why my English is so poor.
So it's all part of network, sir. So we'll move on. Viji? Varsha, yes.
Thank you, Blessy, for the prayer. And I would like to call Father Joseph to introduce the session and the speaker for the evening.
So, respected Honorable Professor Brij Mohan, members of the faculty, my dear students, this webinar is part of the Students in Association, SWARAJ. SWARAJ is Students Social Work Association, Students Associations of Rajagiri. So under the leadership of SWARAJ and under the guidance of the faculty coordinator, Dr. Rajiv, we are organizing various programs during this pandemic situation to sensitize as well as conscientize the students about the various social work engagements all over the world. And today we are fortunate that we have one of the veterans in the area of social work is with us, Professor Brij Mohan from India, to guide us in today's session on development-related discourses. So I am very happy to briefly introduce Brij Mohan, who is a Dean Emeritus, School of Social Work, Louisiana State University. So internationally renowned intellectual with expertise in social development theory, ideology, and practice. He had obtained his India's first PhD in social work at Lucknow University in 1964, where he taught until 1975. He is the author, most recently, of Development, Poverty and Culture and Social Policy, Climate, Economy and Justice, and The Future of Social Work, published by SAGE, Social Policy on the CUPSUB, and many other books. He has authored more than 24 books and 400 articles, chapter reviews, and so on. He is currently working on 2 books, Rediscovery of Society, and on his autobiography, his memoir. He has earned numerous honors and awards, including D.Lit from M.K. Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth and Lifetime Achievement Award from National Association of Professional Social Workers in India. He was recognized as a social work pioneer by the National Association of Social Workers in 1995. So we have very good association with Professor. 2 of our faculty members, Dr. Anil John as well as Rajiv, could review, or I would say we are fortunate enough to review 2 of his famous books in our Rajagiri Journal of Social Development. And we continuously see his encouragement for the young faculty to come up and follow his ways. So I think all of us are fortunate that we have the most knowledgeable emeritus professor is enlightening us. So on behalf of Rajagiri College of Social Sciences, the management, the faculty, the students, I welcome you, sir, for this discourse in this evening session here in India. So welcome, sir, for your valuable insights to our young students who have taken the path of social work following the great models like you. So welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father. Professor, may I take the privilege to record your session with your permission?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Professor.
You did not record Father Joseph's introduction?
Yeah, I started introducing, but I must get your permission.
Uh, Father Joseph and Dr. Rajiv, my fellow students, colleagues, I cannot adequately express my appreciation for your kind invitation to talk to you this morning. I love talking to students, and this is a very opportune yet very tragic time that we are meeting and talking about so many important things which are relevant not only for us in a particular country or region, but as a human family as a whole. This pandemic has threatened the survival of human race. In spite of our scientific achievement and technological excellence, we feel humble, helpless, confronting the invincibility and the power of this monstrous virus. And as social workers, social scientists, and above all, as good citizens and human beings, it challenges us how to deal with each other as human beings in a socially distant setting where each one of us is afraid of each other for both good and rational reasons. We find ourselves isolated, lonely, angry, and many a times almost alienated from our social world. So it's both an opportunity and a challenge to discuss these issues professionally, and I'm delighted to share some of my thoughts on the subject. Rajiv, if you have any comments or something, it's okay. Otherwise, I will follow the line of
Sure, sir.
thinking which I have outlined in some of my slides, or I shall wait for you or your instructions. How do you want to proceed? Or
Yeah, we will go ahead, sir. No other
Okay.
formality. I'll present the slides from this side
Okay.
with your
Okay.
permission. Okay. May I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think it is there.
Yeah, this is the
Yes, sir. Yes.
next,
Yeah.
please. I've already spoken about this. That last third and fourth point I want to emphasize. I'm deliberately including development in the context of social welfare. They are two distinct constructs, and but they are distinct. The challenge that we face today is that we are almost living a surrealist alternate reality. And whatever paradigms we had, frameworks we had, the invincibility of COVID-19 has changed everything, how we live, how we travel, how we conduct business, and the whole production and distribution machinery has been disturbed. The last point that I want to signify is in this chaotic, unmanageable, a little inhuman situation, the most affected and vulnerable people are poor people, elderly people who have no support system, marginalized groups. You may recall in March, when the onset of this COVID-19 broke, there were communal riots in Delhi because they thought some people out of a mosque came out and they deliberately spread. They called them jihad COVID. And there were communal riots, many people, I think there were 27 people who have died. So this is tragedy. We are already, as if we have less of a tragedy in confronting this monstrous virus. We have some man-made problems which we have created for ourselves, which weakens us, which weakens our total organization as a human family and social organization. So these are some very difficult times. I've been talking to you about these challenges. I quoted a line from Time magazine last week. COVID-19 is forcing the world to confront a new form of collective trauma. We have never, in my life, I turn 81, I've never heard of a collective trauma as a whole, except at the time of India's partition when I was in 6th or 4th grade. But that was between India and Pakistan, or the whole South Asia. The collective trauma today is universal. It is universal in the sense that the so-called globalization has failed, and we are living our day-to-day lives in a socially alienated, distanced existence, and this is very problematic. I hear from people from all over the world, oh, this is a time for relaxation, we can do home improvement, we have nothing to do, we are working from home, we are getting paid. Nonsense. Look at people, India has too much of that unfortunate share. Look at people who go daily to make an honest living so that they can come back home and feed their children or feed their parents. Here, 2 trillion people were distributed by our learned president, and all that, our 2 trillion is a lot of money, and much of it went to the corporations. The guy who has a very small shop or business, he or she remained totally helpless, and that is the situation. So when I think of poor people here and elsewhere, mostly in South Asia, India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, it breaks my heart how they are able to cope with this. So the existential challenges that we are facing, there is no measurable tool to assess the depth of the pain that humanity is confronting. And not only that, whenever there is a problem, there is a crisis, we fall back on scientific knowledge. The COVID-19 has failed science, or science has failed us to explain to us what this new monstrosity is. Medicine and government and they are investing. There are 100 companies which are working night and day to invent, to discover, to manufacture some vaccine. But as of today, no one has succeeded. And I'm sure one day before, a few days before our learned president goes to election, he will make the announcement, hey, here is the magic vaccine. So you see the politics of the pandemic, when we should be collectively responsible to confront the collective trauma. And instead of looking at this, we have a very political situation. Before I go further, I want to say a few words. Rajiv, I'm on slide 4th. Next one. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to speak with you about the crisis that we confront as a profession. Social work is a profession. There was social welfare before there was a profession of social work. And the model that we have adopted in India and elsewhere is largely inspired or modeled after the American experience. America developed social work as a profession in the post-Cold War period, post-war, Second World War period, First and Second World War led to the unification of some kind of scientific intervention which could help people to help solve their problems. So in the 2 columns, I have some professional education issues, and I've also got some cultural and technological aspects which are creating, which are intensifying our crisis. In 1984, I published a book, The Logic of Social Welfare, and I unraveled this theme that the way we are teaching social work probably should be revisited. So that was more than 25 years ago, and today, again, I come back to the same theme in my book, which Rajiv referred to, and I will come back to this, The Future of Social Work. I discuss these things with you. We have an identity problem. Even today, if you talk to someone who does not have a proper social work education, they would ask you, are you in public works or social works? I'm quoting people. Are you in sociology or how sociology is different? So we have not been able to establish our identity like other professionals whom we compete with or model after, like lawyers, doctors, and so on. So the second point, which is the heart of my discussion today, is because of digital revolution, because of artificial intelligence, the meanings of both social and work have changed. Social is no more the way you learn in your undergraduate or graduate education, and work is disappearing. I have tons of material which I can show it to you that work will disappear as artificial intelligence will substitute or overtake everything that we do for our living, for our existence. It will all be overtaken by technology. It has already taken by technology. People working in non-essential services, they are all working at home. They don't have to go, they get paid. So even the nature of work has changed. So my problem here is social work per se doesn't mean much in the changed cultural, social, technological environment. This leads to the legitimacy issues, effectiveness, authenticity, parasitic knowledge, lack of innovation, adaptability. These are all important problems that we face as a profession. I will. Everything is self-explanatory, excepting one point I want to emphasize and signify. That is parasitic knowledge. It's not rhetorically that I say that. I mean it. We have borrowed knowledge from other disciplines. That's fine. It's okay. But I have not come across a real serious social philosopher or economist or a political scientist who quotes our books or who has borrowed from us. In other way, it is a one-way traffic. Uh, to nurture knowledge, it has to be a two-way, multi-way traffic of exchange of information and mutual learning. It is completely lacking here. So, in view of this, we have very difficult situation. Also, the economic and cultural forces are again changing. In early 60s or late 50s, we were supposed to support and benefit from social welfare because most of the Western democracies, India included, we were trying to strengthen, innovate, and benefit from the whole concept of the welfare state. Welfare state is in disarray if it has not completely vanished. People, welfare has become a dirty word in professional conversation. People often say this. So when I became the dean, my school's title was a School of Social Welfare. I wonder how much you know about the southern states, like from Florida to Texas. They are very conservative states, and people did not like welfare. So it was during my administration that I changed the name from School of Social Welfare to School of Social Work. So you see, it was a political move, but even then, and the rise of capitalism. This no one is talking about socialism except Thomas Piketty. Have you heard of this guy, Thomas Piketty? I'm showing this is a 1,000 pages book. It's one of my favorite
Yes.
books. I'm reading it very slowly. I'm still only 500 pages through with this, and he's the one who should win the Nobel Prize, not Amartya Sen. But at that time, he was not writing anything. And this book has the book that preceded this publication, Capital. He has become a household name. So people recognize the evilness of a rapacious capitalist system, but they do not know how to implement or transform the social and economic realities so that the equal opportunity, regardless of any discrimination, can be extended to people, especially the marginalized populations. There is a recent book written by a Harvard professor, Surveillance Capitalism. This technology has empowered the deep state to know what you are doing. The moment you use a credit card, you think it is confidential, everything becomes public. Corporations know it, how you are spending, how you are earning, what are you spending on, and so on and so forth. So in such a difficult time, I have addressed, I'm trying to bring home the the review of our mission, our methodology, and our pedagogy. We 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 are if you are if we are earning an MSW just to get a job, fine. We need a job. You need a job. I need a job. If I did not have a job, I would have been starving without the modest pension I get out of my job. So, uh, but there are two things. One is careerism. The other is career. Social work as a career uh, uh, is not going to make you rich. If you want to be rich, leave this profession. Universities are not going to make you rich, but universities are better paid today. University professors whom I know, sometimes I envy their privileges and uh, um, uh, opportunities that they have. We didn't have this. I started my career as a social work lecturer at Lucknow University, and I was making 400 rupees, out of which 250 I paid for my apartment, and out of 150 left, I could not pay my bills, believe it or not. So my point here is social work, if it is not your calling, then you are a misfit here. And people, yeah, I'm talking in the United States. The people I know, they should have never been in social work. They should have been in real estate. They should have been in business. They would have made better success. But those who took this profession as their calling, some of them were my teachers, and it is because of them that we can distinguish how human values are different than marketplace values. But marketplace values are overwhelmingly becoming determinant simply because of the pervasive influence of rapacious capitalism. And I don't see any escape out of it. Now, let me talk about a little bit about social development. Social development. After the First and Second World War, the European countries and people who had won the war, so-called war, they felt some responsibility for the devastated areas of the regions which were devastated, and the so-called third world became the focus of social development. Foreign aid came from US and UK a little bit, and during the Cold War, some help also came from the USSR, and we started rebuilding nation. But it became almost a white man's burden. I have not quoted this book. I thought I would. Can you see this book by William Easterly? If not, the title of the book is The White Man's Burden. I borrowed from him. But look at the subtitle of this book. I'm reading it verbatim. Why the West's efforts to aid the rest have done so much ill and so little good. This basically, this is a very learned man from New York University, and this 435-page book summarizes the ineffectiveness of the Western intervention in developing the so-called third world, which was the focus of social development. Our president, Mr. Learned Donald Trump, calls these so-called developing nations in a very vulgar sense. I mean, I even hesitate to use his words. He called them shithole countries, basically. So what has really happened today, it is important for social development students to understand. About 10 years ago, Farid Zakaria, whom you have heard and you see on CNN all the time, he wrote a book, The Post-American World, and he theorized that there will not be a hegemony that the West will play a role in. The United States will become a kind of chairman and the rest of the nation will be around the table. Even that has failed because United States had withdrawn, because United States is no more the leading power in the world. China is substituting even militarily, let alone economically. Uh, and from Pakistan to Latin America and Africa, the inroads that the Pakistani the Chinese policy and expansion is playing role, it has completely changed the contours of social development. The newly emerging world order has different approaches to the other nation. The other nations are the nations which constitute the so-called developing developing world, and the withdrawal of United States and its resources, it has created so many other problems. Uh, mm, I have quoted on the slide a little reference here. Uh, Joe Biden, who is our Democratic presidential candidate, his topmost advisor, Joe Sullivan, he said, and this is a good architectural metaphor, and he said, it is no more a Paratheon which symbolized various institutions as blocks, as clear-cut things like NATO, NAFTA, WHO. Our president says WHO must be abolished. He has withdrawn all his assistance, UNESCO, so on, so on. And what has morphed this structured developmental structure? It is again. I'm quoting from the new international order. Looks like the Disney Hall in Los Angeles with disparate angles and veering off in different directions. It's a beautiful building, the Disney Hall that I'm referring to, because I pass through there most of the time. My children live in Los Angeles. So the point here is the new world order, which is replacing the old order, is an extremely different social reality, and we should be mindful of the tools that we are employing. China is no more a poor country. China is the most powerful nation in the whole world. The Cold War is over. China, I think China is the mightiest capitalist country, although it is a communist country. It is a policy state. So you see the confluence of contradictions which are assuming new power and creating new structures. That is the point which has completely replaced the whole idea of social development, which needs to be revisited while we talk about other things. Rajiv, I'm on this slide. Many times people have asked me, how do you see the future of your profession? my sense of reality is, so long as there are human beings, so long as we remain humans, we will have no dearth of social problems. And so long as there is human misery, suffering, unless you become Buddha, you will have enough places to work to alleviate the human suffering. So, job-wise, uh, social workers will always have their jobs. However, the burden of my recent book I'm talking about is that we cannot go on putting band-aids. We cannot go on treating symptoms. And so long as we are doing, we have no future. If we want to have a future, then we have to impart a knowledge and a strategy to bring about certain systemic changes, which alleviate human suffering, which minimize inequality, which abolish and highlight evils like caste, which that eradicate problems like poverty. Poverty is the mother of all evils, by the way. And so long as we have all these systemic problems and we are not able to resolve them, uh, we should not fool ourselves by talking about casework, group work, or community organization as if these are the panacea for solving social problems. They will not. They have not solved any problems. Social work has become an international profession. It is internationally recognized. And the reason why it has become internationalized because of the influence of Western education, and that's not a bad thing. It's good. It is substituting the age-old dogmas. That's great, but it has become more popular and more sellable because education has become a commodity. So it is commoditization, not internationalization, which has made us popular. And one of the issues, this is my 7th webinar that I'm delivering during the last 5 or 6 weeks. And in one of these seminars, someone from Delhi and Assam, they raised this question, and I'm bringing it back to you. What should we do? Should we completely follow the Western model, or should we indigenize our profession? And I'm of the opinion that yes, each uh, each country, each region has to develop their own systems of interventions and their own methods in order to be effective. If if you are using a hammer to fix a golden ornament, you are most likely you are going to break the necklace. In other words, my point is our methods and problem have to be coherent. It is the congruence of the problem solving process which is important. I don't see that congruence in our social work methodology. The people say in a country like India, where 80% people are Hindus, why don't we Hinduize it? I wish to go on record to make two things very clear. Yes, we should use indigenous resources and models, but Indianization and or even Bharatikaran is not Hinduization. I'm opposed to any religious approach in a why? Because I think of India as a very diverse, very noble rainbow of different colors, and my my whole notion of the future of India is a model of democratic, socialist, egalitarian, humane values, where all people, especially Hindu, Muslim, Christians, Jains, Sikhs, they all live in harmony. We have lived those times even in Mughal period. This is the a particular reactionary group led by RSS and some other reactionary organizations. They are manufacturing fake news, false historical anecdotes in order to so-called Hinduize. So I wish to go on record that I do support uh, indigenous models, but I do not wish to see it as a partisan, sectarian, or ethnically sensitive uh, hegemonic orientation. And if you the other question always is asked of me is what do Rajiv, can we go on the
Yes, sir.
8th slide and come back to 7th later?
Yes, sir.
What is my idea of the 7 pillars?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Before I introduce my notion of 7 pillars, as I told you, I wrote a book. I can show it to you. I wonder if you can see the logic of social welfare. This is dated 1986, and much of this book is devoted on one theme, which partially I discussed, and I pleaded that social work does not convey what we are actually doing. Social work has become a chimera. It has become a slogan. It makes no sense. And I critiqued this, I gave a theoretical, cognitive, knowledge-based analysis, and I said our profession should be called social praxeology. I've again modified this. I call it social practice. If you see the title of my book, I'm talking about 7 pillars of practice. I'm not saying so 7 pillars of social work practice. I'm talking about social practice. So I've given my reasons why I did not like the combination of social and work for various reasons, and my thesis goes on. And I'm taking the liberty of quoting. You may be knowing Professor Anil Navale from Baroda. He endorsed my book, and I'm reading what I mean by social practice. Artificial intelligence has changed much of transactional and operational services that fulfill human needs. Now our profession has 2 choices: either get devolved into non-existence or launch a moment as defined by the author, that is me, theory of 7 pillars of practice. Brij Mohan proffers 7 transformational algorithms, which mainly include mission, education, service, embedded in empathy and humility, along with authenticity and praxis. Now, you can ask me a question, what do I mean by social praxis? Well, social praxis means rewind our history and think of Mahatma Gandhi when he goes to fast unto death against the partition of India, or when he goes and fights the colonial power and goes to Sabarmati, or when he sits on a hunger strike to protest the colonial rule itself. I would call the finest examples of praxis, because he was literally forcibly making the oppressors realize how wicked they were, how inhuman they were, and at the same time he was empowering the oppressed, the marginalized, the poor people into a power, the power that threatened the British Empire. So uh, my whole notion of social praxis is that uh, we do uh, we do professionalize our undertakings, but we should always have a nobler mission than normally offered in marketing or business or management or something. I have, if as a professor, sometimes I used to give an exercise, an exemplary exercise to my students at the end of my last lecture. I used to tell them, this is my idea of praxis. I used to tell them, I've quoted this in green, highlighted this in green light. The idea is, find out someone who has been oppressed and do something very nice to her or him without letting him know that you have done this thing, and do this selflessly, and later on see how it has impacted that affected person and you as a being. And that is the becoming of a social worker. Being and becoming, these are two existential terms. What we are seeing is being social workers. Um, Praxis empowers us to become the game changers, the transformational agent, which which demolishes the man-made brutalities, the man-made divisions which we have created for ourselves. So that is my idea of my social practice, and I will go back to my seventh previous slide.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Reinventing social work and development, and I begin with the. Forgive me for my phraseology. Um, uh, we have to involve in a constructive destruction. What do I mean professionally? In my book, I have devoted several chapters, and my first suggestion has been, I hope you will discuss this. This is very professional and totally related to our pedagogy. I'm of the opinion, and by the way, I'm very lonely here. I've become a paraha in American education because they think they, they think I'm attacking their establishment. Maybe I am. And my point is, abolish BSW, abolish the so-called DSW, because to me it makes no sense. In other words, I'm saying make MSW a 3-year program. First year, you teach foundational, which would replace BSW. In second year, teach us the various methods, various population target groups, and the various kinds of interventions that we have or we should innovate. Lastly, in the third year, you integrate or you integrate the knowledge experiences gained in the first 2 years and apply them to a pragmatic model of research and innovation, and that that model of 3 years MSW would be much more profitable. And again, I repeat, that model would bring about the notions of practice or social practice I talk about. My third point is know your limits. Uh, um, uh, Even the most learned expert in cardiology cannot save his or her heart patient once the time comes. In other words, all professions have their limits. And nothing proves this more than the COVID-19 has taught us. If we know our limitations, then we will remain humble, we will remain more legitimate, and we will have more opportunities to solve the small problems which become big problems. What we are doing here today is we are talking that's what I meant when I say social work has become a chimera. We talk big things. We will bring social justice. How are you going to bring social justice when you are a part of a very social unjust system? No one had answered that question. In other words, so my point is here is we should be transformative in our career choices, and we should be able to compete and integrate in the university system rather than stand out somewhere as social workers. The universities are having a crisis of their own. It is largely funding. It is temporarily, but unfortunately for the current time, it is also because of this coronavirus. But universities are coming to realize that their main investment should be in the hard disciplines: mathematics, history, English, civil engineering, because they know if you are investing money there, you can see the results. Social work has become a kind of dubious discipline, if I may say so. Social work is valued only in those universities, and I can say this with authority, where social work professors can get grants, funded grants. When those funded grants come, the university takes 60% out of your grant, and they love it. So, excuse me. So unless you are laying golden eggs, no one is going to like you. But if you simply have an MSW or PhD social work program and totally depend on the university for your funding and whatever you are doing, you are not going to get much support. Because of this coronavirus, there are about 4,000 universities and colleges in this country. Out of this, 500 have been closed completely. 2/3, they are doing Zooming. My fourth point was we should refrain from technology seduction. By this, I mean, it is good that we use technology so that I can see you all and you can hear me with 8,000 or 9,000 distance apart. This is great, but it is no alternative for face-to-face relationship. Social work as a profession cannot exist without personal face-to-face relationship with the people you are trying to help. So far, you will notice I have not used the word client. I do not like the client practitioner died. Largely because the person you are helping is not your clients. He's not your client. She's not your client. A real estate agent has a client. A dentist has a client. But can you expect your dentist to fix your aching tooth through technology? I doubt you can. You can. At the same time, we have a situation here. This is again very important. I hope I'm able to convey my sense of frustration to you. On one hand, we are seeing that robotic tools in medicine and surgery, they are operating upon patients. If that is so, then why most of the tasks and skills that social workers impart among each other, why couldn't they be done by robotic machines? They will be. They are already doing that. People are replacing of answering services, crisis phone calls and advising. You can go to YouTube and find several self-help groups offering you those kinds of measures. So my point here is technology should be our servant. We should be the master. Let it not be reversed. But I'm alerting you, soon technology will become our Frankenstein, and it will destroy the remains of our profession. So I'm going to my next slide. This is slide 9, Rajiv. This
Yes, sir,
one.
yes, we are right. Yeah.
I'm combining. I'm sort of. These are my takeaways from whatever. How much time I'm left with? Is already. I've
We have,
completed.
no, yeah.
Can you give me 15 more minutes?
Sure, sir. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
In this slide, I'm trying to combine 3 forces. These 3 forces are digital revolution and the challenges which have been posed by coronavirus, and lastly, institutional meltdown. By institutional meltdown, I mean we have reached a point when our basic social institutions are failing us. Family is breaking down. Joint family, which provided a residual system of help to the needy people in the family, it does not exist anymore. Education, it has become a commodity already. If you can afford to go to fancy schools, if your father is able to write a big check every month, sure, it can be, you can purchase that, but you have to buy the education. If you have not gone to a fancy expensive school, probably you will not get even a job, even though you might know much better than the person who has gone to a private school. So in society also, this happened largely after 9/11. There's so much fear. There's so much sense of terror. A bomb can explode anywhere. People are afraid of each other. And we have become afraid of each other not only because of COVID-19. We are afraid of each other because we have failed as human species to relate to each other. Why it happened? It happened because the problems we created for ourselves. Hi, Vijay. The problems that I'm talking about, they emanate from the failed policies which policymakers imposed on us. And those failures in policy making and formulation created so many problems. In American welfare system, we created a huge social program which included food, medicine, blah, blah, blah. And there's such a terrible backlash against the whole welfare system that it brought Donald Trump to White House. And the poor Bernie Sanders, who kept on talking about social democracy, social democracy, no one could listen to him. My problem here is, if you want egalitarian outcomes, you have to have egalitarian policies. You cannot accomplish a noble goal through a faulty, corrupt, incongruent, and unscientific formulation. So again, combining these three institutional architectural pillars, I'm trying to bring out 4 or 5 points here. And my sense of reality is that institutional meltdown preceded COVID-19. A new political cultural shift has already taken place, and it breeds new tribalism, new populism, new authoritarianism, which is not egalitarian. And if you combine the two, you will notice that your GDP will increase, but inequality will also increase. So this contradiction of social transformation is hardly conducive for the future of our society as a whole, let alone our profession. How do I look at the future as a whole? I believe that social work should be the end of itself. In other words, it has become a mirror of society rather than a candle. Metaphorically, I mean so many things. I have alluded this issue before, and I repeat, so long as we are the creator of our own problems, we will have no dearth of jobs. However, we should strive for modifying, for achieving a knowledge base, a mission based anthropodicity, which would require that we are eliminating the causes of the problem, not its symptoms, to put it very simply. In the right column, I'm spelling out these issues. I'm likely, and I will not blame you, I'm likely to be misunderstood as a pessimist, but I'm not. I'm inherently an optimist, but I cannot ignore the brutal realities which make me pessimist most of the time. I do not see social and human separate from each other. My problem with some of my colleagues is they only would talk about social and economic data, which do not relate to the humanity of our being. So my point is, human social problems, they are inherent in our DNA. And this will always call for innovative social work methods and social work approaches. Alternate reality requires new pathways, Do we have new pathways? I don't know. I know they don't exist. Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing all human endeavors, which includes medicine, which includes science, which includes warfare, and so on. And on top of it, uh, our angst, our existential angst, alienation, fear, and terror is dehumanizing. And if this trend of dehumanization continues, then I don't know what our future will be. Lastly, this is a theme which I'm exploring. This is not a sequel to what I have written, but probably this is my penultimate book, and I'm trying to rediscover society the way I would like to see, the way I would like your and my grandchildren to live in, a society which is not based on particular religious or ethnic or some social or economic tabular structure, which recognizes the dignity, the basic dignity without any discrimination. My hypothesis is, I hope I'm wrong, that the social contract which existed, which made civilization a reality, has completely broken down. In other words, I've written extensively, and that's the burden of my last book. We need a new social contract, which replaces Hobbesian, Rousseauian, and Lockean notions, which created government, which created a civil society, and which created the civilization. Our civilization is falling apart at its seams. It is the signs of the disintegration of the civilization or its decadence. They are so brazenly written on the wall, and if we cannot see them, we have a problem. So, to sum up, we live in a broken society, and systemic structural inequalities and contradictions can no more ameliorate poverty, injustice, and the banality of oppression. And we should not, social work is not a chimera, but it has become a chimera, a kind of God which always wants social justice without knowing how to achieve social justice. The underlying, the concluding observation is, we need new algorithms of transformational challenges and remedies to ameliorate these structural inequalities. So long as they continue, the inequality, injustice, the oppression, which are a product of our own culture, in which we are complicit, they will continue to bedevil humanity. And I would not want social work to be a part of this. Therefore, again, I repeat, social work should be the end of itself. Unfortunately, we are no more the candle. We have become the mirror of our society. A society which is corrupt, a society which is unjust, a society which is broken. I think I have said quite a few things, and I'm open for questions, and I make no pretensions that I have answered all the questions. I know that I do not know, and it is with this secretarian modesty that I would conclude my observations and comments, and I hope I have made some sense. And if not, I will understand that. And I'm dedicating this presentation to your and my own grandchildren. I'm blessed with 3 grandchildren, and you can see. This is Anil, this is Quince, and this is my granddaughter, Gia. Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you,
I
sir.
would like.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue. Yes.
Does anyone have? If anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourself and speak, and if or you can just write it in the chat box if there is any problem
Yeah,
with the network.
there is something. Alika
Yes.
Singh wrote, thank you, sir. Thank you, Alika.
Hello,
Yeah.
I am Dr. P.K. Bajpai. Good
Hello,
evening,
Bajpai.
sir.
Good morning.
Yes,
How
sir.
are you? Nice
Yes,
to
sir.
see
How
you.
are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Bajpai sir.
Okay, sir. Actually, you know very well, you are like father figure for profession of social work in India, and we have been reading you, following you, and learning from you all 5 decades or so. The challenge is society is moving on a different pace and profession is moving in a different pace,
I
and
agree with
they are not at the same platform, sir. And the apathy in India regarding the social work profession has been that it lacked real practice research, and if it lacked real practice research for all these 8 decades, how can it develop its own knowledge base or its own distilled wisdom of practicing and of uplifting the society they are to serve? The problem is that you are very candid while saying that we need a lot of transformation and challenged with our own society, corrupt society, unjust society, and whatnot. But, sir, uh, uh, the problem is that we as professionals have grown tremendously. We have about 500 social work institutions. We have regarding 25,000 social work professionals in India, and a lot of social programs and service orientations. A lot of universities are teaching these courses. Yet, neither we have grown into knowledge, nor in practice, nor the impact. So a lot of soul searching is required, of course, but I think we have to develop somewhere from the scratch and face the realities. We are in the habit of sidelining the realities in India, basically. So, as you say that as long as we are producing golden eggs, we are honored and entertained, and the moment we are to the academics and we are to the practice wisdom and all that, then it is a problem. Only thing we can build our profession towards 21st century is that we have to focus to the practice research.
Bajpai sir, there is an echo.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, the other system of yours is
Okay.
unmute.
No problem. That's muted. Sir, you can speak, sir, now. No problem. You may speak.
Yes, sir.
The problem with practice research is
Sir, could
Yes,
you
sir.
could you unmute yourself? Yes.
Bajpai sir, the problem is the different notions of practice research. If you would ask an American, they will say, they will give you 4 or 5 models. This is our practice research. I don't think that practice research will equip you to become an assistant professor somewhere, or a mid-level manager somewhere, but it's not going to resolve the structural inequalities in the society. A few minutes ago, I was talking about strengthening MSW into 3 years. And at the
Right.
third year, I was talking about the integration, pragmatic integration of social practice, and largely based on knowledge and research. In theory, I agree with you completely, but in practice, the modality of that practice and research is not allowed in the present framework of educational structures that we have borrowed from the West, or which we are indigenizing.
No, sir. I beg to differ. The research is very much allowed, and our professionals, in order to join the academics, have to go through the JRF and then PhD, and after that only they can enter into the teaching profession. Research is part of it, but genuine research is not coming up. The issue is that.
The genuine research in social work, because of our discipline's parasitic character, most of the PhDs that I see here, they are awarded on the recommendation of 4 or 5 people who obviously like you, and you get a PhD. If they don't, you don't get a PhD. The point I'm talking about is the research, the kind of research you are talking about, an MSW would not offer.
Right.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Could some of the students, if they have some questions, if they can ask, I would appreciate. Students may be eager to have 1 or 2 questions. Yes.
Yes, please. Mr. Fadumo Paul.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I would say I've been completely mesmerized. I mean, this is the first time I'm listening to someone who is a professional social worker talk like this. I would normally say maybe I am crazy when I try to express some views, and I think maybe social workers shouldn't talk like that. But listening to you talk like this today, I feel like
it's a good
I'm probably okay.
You are at the point of madness. Young people should live dangerously. I'm quoting Krishna Menon. He was
Yes,
from
sir.
Remember?
Yes, yes.
When I was a graduate student, he came to address Lucknow University, and the first sentence he spoke, I still remember: young people should live dangerously.
Thank you so much, sir. So you talk about the falsification of history, all right, or historical events.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I notice around the world these days that it has become the falsification of history, or a kind of adjustment in historical events is what political powers and powerful men are using today across the world. When you look at Africa, when you look at India, even when you look at America, you find out that people are being the history of what happened in the past is being changed, is being tilted in a way. Even in the religious sector, history is being tampered with, such that it is now being used as a social conditioning method. What do you think we can do? Do we forget about history and chart our own course, or should we allow people to be dependent on these powerful men who are using media and every other powerful instrument to control people, to make sure they follow them? What do you advise social work students?
There are 2 aspects of historical reality. One is the one that we have written by the victors, and the other is the forgotten history of the oppressed people. If on one hand it is historicization, on the other hand it is historializing. One is being and one is correcting the history. The book, I was doing some research and I found, and I made it possible to have this book sent to me from India. This is by Pandit Sundarlal, How India Lost Freedom. You may have read a book by Shashi Tharoor, your learned leader from Kerala, and he talks about the past Indian glory and how the British robbed us of that thing. That is not his finding. It is the finding of this book, which was originally published in 1927. It was banned the fourth day. It saw the day, light of the day. It has now, Sage has published recently, and this has completely changed my view of Indian history. Coming to your point, yes, history needs to be corrected. History is not a science. It's both an art and science. The science of history is not yet fully constructed. When Marx presented a historical view of the evolution of human society and our economic evolution, he was basically using Hegelian dialectical materialism to make history as a scientific discipline. And he has been awfully successful. The book I was referring to by Thomas Piketty, it is inspired by Marx. And he without any apology, he's a neo-Marxist. And I don't fully agree with him that there are some other dimensions besides economic dimensions which are important. But I can see that history's evolution should be a proper, a sensible evolution. If we Hinduize Indian history, we lose the essence of Indian diversity. Let me put it that way. So yes, we need to decolonize Indian history, but with reason, compassion, and integrity. The moment we develop a political agenda, we are no better than the previous rulers who depicted India as a subhuman, barbarian culture, which India was not. And social workers can do so many things to present each social problems in its proper historical context. I was referring to my first book when I was a young kid, when I wrote this, and in order to understand the evolution of the Indian society from agriculture to industrial, I found Dange's book, and I have quoted this on page 23. I do not have time, and this gave me a perfect, a very sound knowledge base, which is still with me today. And this kind of soul searching, this kind of knowing yourself. This kind of self-awareness should preface, should characterize our approach to problem solving.
Thank you, sir.
Vijay?
Yes, Jos, you were about to ask something?
No, I just said hello to my colleague, Dr. Pillai.
No, sir. Jos.
Yes, sir. This is a question from another dimension what Paul asked. But this is regarding the modern India, like especially when we look to Indian governance, the policy channelization that which is planned in the top level of government is not at all reaching in the lower dimension, especially in rural. So as far as Indian rural is considered, most of the people are uneducated, and that is the main difference between United States and India, where there we have a good number of literate, but in India, the rural there is less literate people. So the policies that the good policies is not reaching at the rural places. So as far as a social worker, there is a great need for social action, as you said that the transformative model is so important. So there is a great call for social action, quoting Mary Richmond's quote of betterment through mass propagation and social legislation. So but at present, what we see is, even though India focus more on social caseworks and top-level methods of social work, the secondary methods like social action, social workers are not able to get into the rural community due to certain hindrance, especially the political hindrance that they face. So, as far as social workers is concerned, how should we fight, or how should we raise our voice in a professionalist manner to reduce this gap?
You said India's rural development.
Yes, sir.
Right from the beginning after independence, I call it India's balkanization rather than independence, is there. Gandhian view of India's development was to develop villages and then the cities. What has happened is the reverse of it. We did have 5-year plans. By the way, in MSW, I specialized in rural and community development, and on the site in Sarojini Nagar block, I saw firsthand how things are being implemented, and that was the model which was spread all over the country. But the inequality and the differences that you see in terms of regional variations, in terms of income, in terms of awareness, and what we can do in terms of social action, these are difficult questions. My only suggestion is our education should not deal with alternate reality. It should deal with historical reality, actual reality, and try to be a part of the solution rather than be a part of the problem. And I do not believe that social workers are totally helpless. Sometimes that feeling overwhelms me, and those are very lousy moments, I would confess. I know many social workers who have done excellent jobs, but by the way, they did not have MSWs. In other words, what I'm saying, in order to be a great social worker, in order to be a more competent social action pioneer, you don't have to have a DSW. I read so many things written by Arundhati Roy. I think she's the greatest social activist living in India. But I also hear people are so afraid. They call her anti-national, blah, blah, blah. And I understand where they are coming from. The politics that surrounds us, the politics that governs our life is so nefariously selfish, and I use the term sometimes, and I will. It is our politics is predatory. Unless you can change that algorithm, we cannot change anything. So again, we have to have new algorithms of development and social transformation, social change.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I think, sir, it's almost 10 o'clock here. Shall we wind up, sir, with your permission?
Yeah, I want, before you say something, I want to share some of my thoughts in a very few words. I'm so overwhelmingly delighted that you gave me this cathartic moment so that I could express my pent-up feelings. I write a lot, but no one reads my readings, and I don't. But I've been retired for 10 years, and I don't teach anymore. I don't see my students anymore. So this opportunity gives me a feeling that I'm still alive and well. I'm doing well. And thank you for imparting this self-confidence.
Oh, sir. These are some great words. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. In fact, I would like to, express our gratitude in very few words. Like, it's a golden opportunity and a privilege given to our students and for us, even that teachers, to listen to such a great philosopher in social work. And it happened, it is an example for the students as well. When I walked to our library, I saw a new arrival book titled The Future of Social Work, 7 Pillars of Practice. And actually the title itself was impressive. So it was hardly 200 pages. I think it's 193 pages or something. And I took the book. I started reading. That's the only book I have completed with one sitting. Like, from it was a holiday, so I got time from morning till noon. I finished. But there were few words that stuck me, like the Western hegemony of power, and the social work is actually a product to pacify the inequality. And these were some of the words that actually struck me. And I went back and I started reading each one to identify what are the 7 pillars that is going to actually protect our profession for future. Then I think I read the book multiple times. Then I wrote to him, Brij sir, I just want to review your book. And next day, surprisingly, he has returned to me. The email ID was there in the book. That's the first time I'm just in contact with Dr. Brij. And I used the email ID. I wrote to him, and the next day he in fact wrote to Sage Publishers and marking a copy to me that Rajiv is actually reading the book. Kindly send him a copy. And within 3 days, I got a personal copy of book from Sage Publishers. And in fact, that actually motivated that particular, that was an inspiration for me. It's not something which we can value with anything else. It's more than that. No, that was actually motivating. And I wrote the review. I returned back to him, and he went through the review, and he again congratulated. It is actually the second book reviewed in our journal, Rajagiri journal. And that's how then later we actually get connected in our all social media. LinkedIn, I think even in Facebook, I just follow him. In LinkedIn and ResearchGate, in all these platforms, I follow him. And last day I wrote to him, sir, our students actually would benefit from your 1 hour session with our students. Would you be able to? And on the second day, that is an early morning for him, but for us it was evening. I got a mail, Rajiv, I am happy to do that. And then I asked Father Joseph MK, the head of the department, how to match the time. Then Father said, no, better we will fix it like his morning time, 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. in his time. So it is 8:30 in our time. And this is how this particular wonderful session happened. I understand that there are a lot of philosophical ideas that he has put forward. He one thing that we can believe in, that he always introduced himself as a social worker, a social work professional, social work academician. And after what all he
I'm
shared.
proud of being a social worker. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. And actually, all other aspects, what is in his books and what is in his, this particular discourse, the philosophical discourse, is to helping the new generation to becoming social workers, not being social workers. And the word which take home message is, we are actually a mirror. We are mirror, not the candles. Usually we used to say the social workers are candles, but rarely people talk about we are mirrors that actually reflect the inequalities of the society. Sir, we have so many take-home messages from your wonderful presentation, and we are actually privileged to have you here. And the entire Rajagiri family express our gratitude, sincere appreciation, and thanks to you. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your
Thank you very
wonderful
much.
time with us.
I'm very grateful to all of you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Then I must also thank our HOD, head of the department, for the Joseph MK, who has actually given me permission and all the support. And the father is, he was already there. And he is actually the editor of our Rajagiri journal. He usually promote. He is also from the community, rural and community development background. He does quite a lot of things in that line also. So he was very much interested when I told him, Sir, Brij Mohan sir is agreed to be here. And he was actually enthusiastic, and he has given me all the freedom to organize the program. Father, on behalf of all present here, I express our sincere gratitude to you. Thank you very much, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I must also acknowledge Pramod Kumar Bajpayee ji, and Vijayan Pillai sir, all who are present here. Actually, in fact, when Brij Mohan sir speaks, no, the world listens. That's why I didn't send any information to anybody else, but it was shared. I don't know. I got quite a few number of mails as well, asking me to share the link for Professor Brij presentation today. In fact, that's what I understand. The world listens. When you speak, the world listens. And I must also appreciate our students. I mean, understand it is 10 p.m. It's almost time to sleep, but you're all active, especially the coordinators of our SWARAJ, Jose and Sia, then our Anne Maria James and Paul. So I appreciate all your effort, and let me conclude by saying that let's all try to become good social workers that reflect the real society. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.